I can't tell you how excited I am about this deck. I used to have an Atla Pelani Nest Tender deck, which was this exact same deck, except Atla didn't really, synergize well. She's a really good card, but the synergies weren't there. So when Wayta Trainer Prodigy came out, I was just so excited. 1/5 with haste, you can tap it and have 2 of your creatures fight. And then whenever a creature you control is dealt damage and it causes a triggered ability of a permanent to control the trigger. That's a lot of words. That ability triggers an additional time, which means all the Enrage abilities from Dinosaurs from Ixalan trigger a lot. So I love this thing. Let's see how the deck goes. So the first section here we have is Enraged-osaurusus. These dinosaurs will get enraged whenever stuff happens. We got Bellowing Aegisaur, Siegehorn Ceratops, and Snapping Sailback. All of them put +1/+1 counters on themselves or other creatures, just when they're dealt damage. Next we have Overgrown Armosaur, Raptor Hatchling, and Vrondis, Rage of Ancients. Now Vrondis is not a dinosaur, but still has the Enrage ability. Whenever these are dealt damage, you create some sort of token. We got Saprolings, 3/3 dinosaurs, and 5/4 dragons. When they deal damage, you sacrifice them, but a 5/4 for basically nothing is insane, and then we just enrage it a bunch, and then bing bong boom, we got a bunch of dragons. Cacophodon, whenever it's dealt damage, you can untap a permanent. So you can untap your land, you can untap a creature, you can untap Wayta for crying out loud and do the ability again. This is a great card. Imperial Ceratops and Ravenous Daggertooth, both of these, when they're dealt damage, you gain 2 life. Frilled Deathspitter and Sun-Crowned Hunters, both when they're dealt damage, they deal some sort of damage to a target opponent. Sun-Crowned Hunters deals 3 damage, and Frilled Deathspitter does 2 damage. Needletooth Raptor is kind of similar. Enrage, it deals 5 damage to a creature an opponent controls. Boros Reckoner, this is another non-dinosaur, but whenever it's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target creature or player. These next 3 are very similar. Brash Taunter, Coal Hauler Swine, and Stuffy Doll. Again, not dinosaurs, but they're all Enrage type abilities. Whenever they're dealt damage, they deal that much damage to each player or a chosen player. It's just a lot of fun, and we'll just be smacking each other left and right. Then we have Apex Altasaur. This one's great. It's a 10/10. When it enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control, and then when it's dealt damage, you fight up to 1 creature you don't control, etc., etc. You don't have to fight something, but it is just a fun way to just keep smashing faces with this giant long neck. And lastly, we have Polyraptor, probably the best Enrage ability of all time. When it's dealt damage, you create a token that's a copy of it. That just means we're going to have a lot of these, and I'll show you some combos later in the video. Next section, these are the things that are going to enrage our enraged dinosaurs. We have Raging Regisaur, Ryle, and Tilonali's Crown. Whenever Raging Regisaur attacks, deals 1 damage to any target. Ryle deals 1 damage to any target creature you control, and then it gains Trample, and you draw a card. Tilonali's Crown deals 1 damage to enchanted creature, and then that creature gets +3/+0 and Trample. So these all just trigger enrage abilities and give some sort of buff, or can be recurable. Magma Quake, Raging Swordtooth, and Shake the Foundations each deal 1 damage to each other creature, or just 1 creature without flying. It's just sets off a chain of events of enrage abilities. Pyrohemia, this one really sets off those enrage abilities. It's pretty awesome. You can pay a red to deal 1 damage to each creature and each player, and you can see where I'm going with this. You can pay that as many times as you want, and as long as your creatures don't die, you can just keep triggering those enrage abilities. Pretty awesome. Next section, we have some Synergizing dinosaurs, which is just kind of fun. We got Wrathful Raptors. Trample, whenever a dinosaur you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dinosaur. So this basically adds another enrage ability to all your dinosaurs, which makes it so that they deal that much damage to another thing, and it's just a cycle. Sunfrill Imitator, when it attacks, you can have it become a copy of another dinosaur you control, except its name is Sunfrill Imitator and has this ability, which means it's copy something with an enrage ability. Next, we have Gishath Sun's Avatar, because there's no dinosaur deck without this card. Pretty awesome. Yeah, we're not going to go over this one because it's overdone. Marauding Raptor and Otepec Huntmaster. These 2 make your creatures cost 1 less. Well, Otepec Hunter makes your dinosaurs cost 1 less, but most of the creatures are dinosaurs anyway. And then Otepec Huntmaster can give a dinosaur haste. Marauding Raptor is actually a combo piece, and whenever another creature enters under your control, it deals 2 damage to it. Now, this is not a May ability, so it's a little dangerous, but if a dinosaur is dealt damage this way, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn, so it beefs itself. I'll go through a combo with this later. Dinosaur Stampede, this gives your creatures +2/+0 until end of turn, and then it gives your dinosaurs Trample, so you can just kind of overwhelm with combat damage if you so need the thrill of it, I guess. I don't know. Forerunner of the Empire and Priest of the Awakening Sun. Forerunner of the Empire enters, you can search for a dinosaur on top of your library. And then when a dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you can have Forerunner of the Empire deal 1 damage to each creature. Another combo piece, which is just insane. This one's kind of similar to Marauding Raptor. I'll show you a combo with it later. Priest of the Awakening Sun just gains you life if you reveal dinosaurs. Then you can sacrifice it to search for a dinosaur into your hand. Heroic Intervention and Unbreakable Formation. Give your creatures indestructible for the turn, which really helps with Enrage, so you can just keep dealing damage to your creatures, but they don't die. So with the next section comes Destruction of Other People's Things, or just removal for short. Rashing Brontodon is a dinosaur, and you can sacrifice it to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Scion of Calamity has Myriad, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. And with the Myriad, you can potentially deal 3 damage to, if you've got 3 opponents. You get it. Okay. Bronzebeak Foragers and a Trapjaw Tyrant. When Bronzebeak Forager enters, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent they control until it leaves the battlefield. And Trapjaw Tyrant, whenever it's dealt damage, you exile a creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. They're kind of similar. And then Bronzebeak Foragers also, you can put a creature exiled with it into its owner's graveyard, and then you gain X life. Oh, that's kind of neat. Silverclad Ferocidons, whenever it's dealt damage, each opponent sacrifices a permanent. Now, this goes pretty hard. Star of Extinction, you destroy a land, and then it deals 20 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Holy crap, 20 damage. That's probably going to kill most things, but it's also going to trigger all Enrage abilities. That's just, you can't go wrong with this. Well, actually, you probably can, but who cares? It's 20 damage. And then lastly, we've got a Chaos Warp. Honestly, this could be swapped out for Path to Exile or Swords to Plowshares or something like that that's a little bit more efficient, but I like Chaos Warp, it's kind of fun, and it was just in my original deck, so we'll just keep it here. Second to last section here, we've got a little bit of card advantage. Commune with Dinosaurs lets us look at the top 5 cards of our library, and you can reveal the dinosaur or land from among them, put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom. So technically it's not really card advantage, but you can search for a dinosaur or land depending on what you need at the time. Ripjaw Raptor, whenever it's dealt damage, you draw a card. Easy peasy. Curious Altosaur and Runic Armasaur. So whenever a dinosaur you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card with the Altosaur, and then with the Armasaur, so these are all tongue twisters. Whenever your opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card, so this could trigger a lot, it could trigger a little. It's just kind of nice because it's a cool dinosaur and it's got synergies and stuff. And then we got Lifecrafter's Bestiary. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, and then whenever you cast a creature, you can pay green if you do draw a card. Feldon Ronum Excavator. This basically has Enrage because whenever it's dealt damage, you exile that many cards from the top of your library, and then it basically becomes an impulse draw. You can play 1 of them to your next turn, so I don't know, that's pretty cool. Garruk's Pack Leader is next. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters under your control, you can draw a card. Not a dinosaur, but it's a cool looking thing. Colossal Majesty and Garruk's Uprising. These deal with creatures with power 4 or greater, and you just draw cards at different times, and we all know what these do. Harmonize, of course. You can just draw 3 cards with it. I really like this card. Lastly, we have the land section. So we need to ramp into our dinosaurs, right? Because they're a little costly. We've got a Wayward Swordtooth, which technically isn't card ramp, but you can play an additional land on each of your turns, and then it's a 5/5 for 3 mana that can attack or block once you ascend. Ranging Raptors, another Enrage ability. Whenever it's dealt damage, you just search for a basic land on the battlefield tapped, so that's pretty awesome. At Zokin Seer, Intrepid Paleontologist, and Ixali's Lorekeeper, each of them tap to add mana of any color. Ixali's Lorekeeper only taps to cast dinosaur spells or abilities, though. And at Zokin Seer, you can sacrifice it to return a dinosaur from your graveyard to your hand. Intrepid Paleontologist also exiles cards from graveyards. Then you can cast dinosaur spells that you exiled with her. It enters with a finality counter. Okay, that's pretty cool. Utopia Sprawl, this one's just kind of fast and easy. Whenever Enchanted Land is tapped, you add an additional 1 mana of the chosen color that you choose. Kind of nice for a 3-color deck. Explore, of course, is not technically ramp again, but you can play an additional land on your turn and you draw a card. And then, of course, we got Soul Ring. Don't really need much explanation there. Explosive Vegetation, Farseek, and Sylvan Scrying. These all search for basic lands. How cool is that? Guess what? Sylvan Scrying actually searches for any land, which is pretty neat. So you can search for that tri-land that you're looking for, if or whatever you need. So let's go to this combos I was talking about. We've got Marauding Raptor and Forerunner of the Empire. Both do similar things, but they're going to be slightly different. Forerunner of the Empire, when it enters, you're going to search for Polyraptor, put it on top of your library, and then just wait until your next turn. Then, what you're going to do is cast the Polyraptor. Polyraptor enters. Forerunner of the Empire deals 1 damage to it. You know what that means? It makes a copy of Polyraptor, but we're actually going to respond to that damage. We're going to cast Heroic Intervention. Gives all our permanents hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, which means Polyraptor gains indestructible, so it's dealt the damage, but it's not going to die after 6 times. So, Forerunner of the Empire deals a damage to Polyraptor, which means you make a copy of it. Guess what? Copy of Polyraptor enters. That's another dinosaur. So Forerunner of the Empire deals a damage to that Polyraptor and the original Polyraptor. Now you've got 4 Polyraptors. Guess what? 2 more Polyraptors enters. That means you can do 2 more damage to each of your creatures, and then you make that many more Polyraptors, and then do it again and again and again as many times as you'd wish. That's pretty cool. And then if you've got I don't know. You could probably add something that gives these things haste, because it's going to be nuts. But your next turn, you're going to win. Marauding Raptor does the same thing. So in this case, Marauding Raptor is going to be on the battlefield, and you're going to cast Polyraptor. So when it enters the battlefield, Marauding Raptor deals 2 damage to it. This is not a May ability like the Forerunner of the Empire. You have to do this, which means it locks the game. Because Polyraptor enters, it deals 2 damage to it, and then that makes a token of it. Another dinosaur enters, deals 2 damage to it. Another dinosaur enters, it deals 2 damage to it, etc., etc., etc. Marauding Raptor gets infinitely more powerful, and you make an infinite number of Polyraptors, and then the game technically freezes, and then nothing else can happen because it just keeps happening over and over and over again, which is no fun for anybody except us, which means you win. let's just be honest. And well, unless somebody's got some shenanigans, but you're probably gonna win. So even if someone can stop it, it's you just make 10 trillion Polyraptors, and then your Marauding Raptor is a 10 trillion and 3 creature, or whatever the math is on that. So it's just gonna be nuts. So just cool combos going on. Thank you so much for watching. What do you guys think of the deck? Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss your weekly doses of magic. And then just, yeah, thanks for the patrons and whatever. Check them out, and then the TCGplayer is whatever. I'm in a mood, guys. This is just how I'm talking tonight. Okay, see ya. Bye.